Welcome back to Living Indie Grind. This week I'm talking with Annie. She's a YouTuber and indie game dev trying to live out the dream like the rest of us. We talk about the difference between coding as professional software engineers and coding for game dev. We talk about YouTube success and growth and much, much more. If there are topics you want me to talk about or game devs you want me to talk with in future episodes, let me know in the comments down below or in my Discord. Wishlist Stolen Hearts on Steam.
This is not a podcast, this is a theme song.
How do you do? It's Mr. Moo, and this is Living Indie Grind. And today I'm here with Annie. Annie, welcome.
Woo! Thank you.
You want to give yourself a little intro?
Sure, yeah. So, I'm Annie. I'm a solo indie game dev, I guess, although that sounds a lot more professional than it is. I guess I'm a person trying to build a game. I have a YouTube channel that I run, and that's it.
Cool. And you want to tell us about your project On Track or any other projects that you're working on?
Yeah, actually, I have to say it's like the only thing I'm working on, to be honest. I probably should join a game jam or something sometime soon, just to learn a little bit, outside of the things that I currently do. But yeah, On Track is like a small 2D game. It's scoped to be a mobile game. I thought that would be easier, but I realized maybe it's not because you have so many different resolutions. But yeah, now I've already made it to like work well for like portrait mode and everything. So I guess no going back, probably. I shouldn't go back. It's like a little arcade game. You have a little railway train network, and you need to direct trains through the network to the right depots by operating railway switches you have on the network. So you basically just click and make them go in different directions.
Cool. And when did you start the project?
So I started last year, sometime in summer, I guess, after it became clear that COVID was going to last a bit longer.
Yeah, it seems like a typical story.
Yeah.
Cool. And is this like your first introduction to game dev, or have you been kind of doing other things on the side, but this is like your first time that you're like documenting your experience?
No, I'm totally new to this, which is maybe also interesting for people to watch. I thought that's kind of also why I started the channel. So I haven't done any game dev at all before, but I really got into it. I think it's like a really nice project. Like it's a nice thing to work on because you have so many different things you do, right? You do art, or at least you try to do art in my case. You do programming, the typical stuff, and then music, which I still need to get to, and all of these things you have to do if you work on a game solo, right? So that's super nice.
Yeah, and the interesting about game dev in general, right, is that you have to have so many skills, right? And the art looks good in On Track.
Try to learn them.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean the game objectively looks very satisfying. It's very appealing. And was this your do you have experience in art?
Like, not at all. No. I mean, I really enjoy photography, and I've been doing that for a long time. But I guess that's very different from actually creating sprites for a game, or creating stuff like that actually fits in games. Yeah, so that's about as artsy as it has gotten for me in the past.
Yeah, I see. But I mean, it's turning out great. What kind of software do you use for the art that you create?
So I use Affinity Designer actually. So it's all vector art. The style is very minimalist. So that's a good fit for vector art in general. And yeah, I'm not so big on the Adobe payment models, I guess. So yeah, Affinity Designer is really nice. You can also use it on the tablet, which is cool. I would really recommend it.
Nice. Yeah, I use Photoshop, and definitely is a pretty penny that you have to spend. But I also get the Premiere Pro for the videos and all of that, right?
Yeah, true.
So that's kind of nice. But it's cool. So how did you decide that you want to get into game dev specifically versus like other types of projects, and then also that you want to go into the mobile sphere?
So mobile really was just, I figured I'm just going to try and do something small at first, and mobile sounded like a small thing to me. It was very random. I don't think I want to continue to create mobile games, really. So that was super random, really, and probably not even the best idea in hindsight. And then getting into games, I was really inspired by Hollow Knight. That is probably my favorite game. I really got into this game. I thought it was such a nice experience to play. I got super hooked. I think I've spent like 70 hours or something, which is also
Really?
like one reason is I'm pretty bad at this stuff, so it took me a long time to beat the game. But yeah, I got really inspired by the fact that it was created by so few people. I think like 2 or 3 people, including the programmer. And I was like, oh, like, how are they doing this? Like with just 3 people, and got interested in that. Yeah, and then I figured out I could just use an engine like Unity, and also saw a couple of devlogs on YouTube. I think YouTube just recommended it to me randomly, and I was like, yeah, nice. I'm gonna try this as well.
Nice. So why, when you were talking about it, you said that you didn't want to do mobile, like in retrospect, choosing to do a mobile game is something that you regret. Why is that?
Like, to be perfectly honest, I just hate like setting up and laying out the UI. It is the most annoying and painful thing ever. That's the main reason, probably. Also, I'm not super huge on mobile games myself. I have gotten into like 2 or 3 mobile games, but otherwise, I don't really find it that immersive and everything.
Yeah.
But I guess my game is not the most immersive game on the planet anyway. It's like supposed to be a little like nice distraction. That's at least what I'm aiming for. And for that, it's probably fine. But yeah.
Did you decide what the game was before you decided it was going to be a mobile game? Or because it's definitely a game that looks like it would be, is well adapted for mobile.
Yeah, true. I don't remember. I'm not sure how I decided and why. I remember I first just wanted to come up with an idea to have like a starter project, something like that. And that's what I did. And I guess I probably decided after that it would be a mobile game. I'm really not sure in hindsight. I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, I first kind of thought of the entire concept, or the basic concept at least, not every single feature. And then I started trying to build it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely coming along. So what is your projected timeline for the game?
My projected timeline. I'm hoping I can finish it in the next few months. So probably I'll finish it in the next few years. No, I'm really hoping I can finish it. At the moment, I'm really trying to get on like this final sprint of really getting the things done that I need to do. I created a little Trello board, and I have a label that says must do. So I'm trying to focus on these things, and I only labeled something as must do. I absolutely have to do it, and I would simply not release the game if this was not in the game. So yeah, I'm trying to really focus on that and get to this like vertical slice first. And in the past, like around beginning of the year, I really got into just exploring different alleys, and I explored like different ways to architect the game, which was like completely unnecessary, but kind of fine. I learned something that was interesting. But yeah, right now I'm really trying to soon get it done. I also have ideas for what I want to do next, and like it's hard to stay motivated and keep focusing on this one thing, right?
Yeah.
If you have these many ideas. I don't know if that happens to you a lot.
Oh, all the time. Like I just have a list on my phone of all these game ideas that I have.
Yeah.
Right. But like in reality, if I wanted to create all these games, it's just like impossible. And then I have like the current game that I'm working on. So it's like that takes up like all my time essentially. So part of me is like really excited for the game I'm working on to finish it. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I want to start these other games, right? I want to get going on some of these other projects because those ideas really excite me. Yeah.
But I feel like it's often also quite good to just keep it baking for a bit, right? Like you have an idea, and then maybe you write down a few notes, and then a week after that, you're like, oh, maybe it's not like that awesome of an idea. I was thinking a little bit of like making something 3D, and I started researching like if I should use a different engine for that, if I go that route. And like I've never like modeled anything. I've never used Blender. I was like, oh, so I would need to like learn Blender and everything. But in the end, I realized probably that's like way too big. That would be too much. So yeah, that took me a couple of weeks.
Well, I mean, it's also that's where like game jams and smaller projects come in, right? Because yeah, for me, like, I have Stolen Hearts. That's my main game. Working on it for years, right, and expect to work on it for at least months more. But
When you want to get it done?
I'm hoping to finish it at the end of the year. Will that happen?
Cool.
I don't know, but
Around Christmas. Christmas
that's my
present.
hope. Yeah, it'll
Nice.
be a nice Christmas present to myself to finish the game. But
Yeah.
yeah, that would be really cool. But we'll see. But in the interim, there are these like lots of other side projects that I can get involved with, and I'm hoping to get into 3D as well, like sharpen my Blender skills. I made my donut
Nice.
from the Blender Guru.
Like
So
bucket list.
yeah, so that was fun. But now I haven't really touched Blender again. I haven't picked it up since I made that, which was like at the end of last year. So
So I have actually installed it. That's about how far I've gotten.
hey, that's the first step. Nice, but you're the content on your channel recently. You've decided to branch out a little bit, right? Like it used to just
Yeah.
exclusively be on track devlogs, and
Yeah, true.
now you're deciding to get into the education side of really computer science.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Like data structures, that's very much integral part of like software design in general. Is that something that you have a lot of experience with?
Yeah, I'm a software engineer, like in real life.
Yeah.
So I guess I am somewhat qualified to make tutorials on this type of stuff. And yeah, I got a little bit tired of looking at Unity and my code editor and working so focused on the game that I decided to just take a break. I think that makes a lot of sense if you get to that point. Just take like a kind of a scheduled break, I guess. And I did like a bunch of other things, and also decided like, why not make a tutorial? I hadn't really found one on this topic in particular. It seemed like there was nothing really on this, so I figured, why not try this? I'm not sure if I'm going to do it in the future as well. Yeah, I really don't know. I usually do what I kind of feel like and what is appealing to me at the time.
Yeah, and
We'll
I mean
see.
it's very useful content, right? I think
Thank you.
a lot of people when they get into game dev, right? They're afraid of the computer science aspect of it, right? That programming is what's going to hold them back, and in many cases maybe it does, but when you have people when they do tutorials and things like that, they a lot of times will just like copy and paste like snippets of code, right?
Yeah.
And it prevents them from really learning what computer science is, right? And I think data structures particularly is a great way for you to understand kind of how computers operate, right? Even if like stacks and queues and things like that, they're not that important in terms of having to implement it all the time because they're all implemented already for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So
Although it
just
can be
like
good exercise, right? If you're trying to learn about it.
exactly, I think that's the real part of it that really will help you, right? Is like knowing how they're implemented like behind the scenes, like helps you understand how in general how structures work in computer science, right? And it can inspire you in your own design for games and stuff like that, right? And you showed a bunch of great examples in your videos about how these are actually used in games, right? In your own game and other games. So
How they might be used in other games. I don't
right.
actually know the code, right? Maybe a bit simplified in some cases, but yeah. I think it can just be really useful to understand these data structures and the benefits they can have when you know where to apply them. I mean, I specifically didn't focus on like performance considerations and stuff like that, but I also feel like the idea is to make it a beginner guide tutorial. So I really didn't want to focus on stuff like that because I don't think it's a good idea to focus on when you're just starting out. It's just this thing you can worry about when you're making your 5th game and it's just not running well or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, just understanding how these things work and where you can use them to your advantage is already a pretty good first step.
Yeah. Plus, it's like a cool way for people that are interested in game development and also maybe computer science, but never really had that computer science background. And this is kind of a good introduction because data structures, right, and like performance is like an essential part for interviewing, for example, for like software engineer roles, right? So if people are interested in that type of content, then it would be a good introduction for other paths of their lives, right? Like,
yeah, true. And hopefully not as dry if you actually talk about games, right? I figured that
yeah.
would be kind of fun anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a nice like niche, right? It's a nice way to teach people, right? Like it keeps it interesting, and I think your content really deliver that type of entertainment while still being able to teach those concepts. Cool. But your other content, it definitely you've definitely put a lot of time, and it's very obvious that you have like high quality content.
Yeah, it takes so much time to make these videos. It's surprising.
Yeah, it's
like I'd probably be done with the game if I hadn't made all of these videos.
Yeah, I definitely feel that as well, right? Because it takes like hours and hours of
How long
time
do
just
you
to
think
put
you
it.
spend on it, like in percentage wise?
It's definitely become kind of a 60-40, maybe even 50-50 split, like 60% on my game, 40% on YouTube. And I have a more frequent schedule than other people, I think, but at the same time I don't have like the same production value, right? Your videos have a lot of production value, right? You have drone shots, you got the on the I think so on the there's like something that you're like we're climbing a mountain or something. Is it,
What? No, I don't think so.
No?
But that's fine. Maybe we can just pretend I had
Well,
that
yeah,
in my
let's
video.
pretend that.
It's like super high quality, that video.
Either way, you definitely have like high quality content, and this is definitely not your first. Is this your first like encounter with YouTube or and like making videos and stuff?
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite impressive because you have really like I feel like you have a natural way to compile your videos and like
thanks.
Yeah.
No, glad you like them. Yeah, I put a lot of effort into kind of preparing them nicely and coming up with a good script to make it and keep it interesting, right? So, yeah. I'll see if I can keep this up. I'm not sure. We'll see.
Is that something that has been like, oh, you wish that you could spend more time on your game, or has YouTube kind of developed into your own, like a different type of passion, but it's all connected, obviously?
Yeah, no, I treat it as like a second hobby. I'm still having a lot of fun making this stuff, so that's nice. And it's also, I think I wouldn't have a lot of fun if I wouldn't be creating these kind of like nicely developed videos and stuff like that. If I just like, I don't know, flopped on the chair and talked for like 30 minutes, I wouldn't have a lot of fun just creating that video. So I try to like put creative stuff, and that's how it has become a little bit of a side hobby as well. And I mean, the nice thing about doing this as a hobby is you don't have to do it, right? If I don't want to do any YouTube anymore, then I could just quit. But right now I'm having a lot of fun still. I don't put out videos like weekly or something, but whenever I have something nice, I will try to make one. And yeah, it's still super fun for me. So I just do it whenever I have time and want to do it. So yeah. I mean, if you want to promote a game or something like that, and you really want to get into that and make a profit and stuff, which is not really relevant to me at this point, then I guess you want to think about like regular uploads and all that. But yeah, so far, not really a concern.
Yeah. So where do you want your channel to go? Like, is game dev something that you really want to pursue even deeper than you're currently taking it, or you like that kind of balance that you have with your personal life and making the videos and making your game?
I don't really know. I'm not really the type of person that will have a roadmap for life. So probably what I tell you now will not be valid anymore in 6 months. I don't know. I definitely can imagine continuing doing this because it's just a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun, and continuously so. Sometimes I start projects like things that I enjoy, and then I drop it after a couple of months because I don't know, it's just not that much fun. But I've been doing it quite consistently, so it's a good sign. Apart from that, I also really like my job, so I'm not gonna like just quit my job. Yeah, let's see. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, but I definitely want to continue and keep spending time on this. Yeah. What about you? Do you have aspirations to make this your full-time job or something? I'm not even sure. Do you do this on the side, I guess, right?
Yeah. So I'm also a software engineer,
Mm-hmm.
full time. Um, yeah, I mean, this is definitely what I feel a lot of passion for, and I would love to just, if this was my full time thing, then that would be amazing, right? But obviously, I have to make sure that this is a something that I can actually make a profit off of, and I can sustain myself on. So we'll
Yeah.
see. Right now, it's a hobby and something that I can spend a lot of my free time on, and we'll see in the future if I can uh, make it full time if possible. But
Yeah, cool. Nice.
yeah, but we'll have to see. But yeah, so before you were saying how this balance of making YouTube videos and making your game also helps you just to keep you sane, and it makes the game more fun because you're able to share what you make. And if you just like sat down, you plopped yourself in the chair and said, "Okay, I'm just gonna make this game and grind it out," then I don't know. That seems a lot harder, right? And I feel that
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. It's like, yes, YouTube does take up like half the time, but if it wasn't for YouTube, would I even have the motivation to keep going? I don't know, right? Because it's the people giving you feedback and saying, "Oh," encouraging you.
Yeah.
That's a big pull for me, at least, to make sure that like I'm always moving forward, right?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like there's a lot of value in making devlogs and just videos about what you're doing. You get lots of basically free feedback, right? That's also super nice. Also, for me personally, since I only started all of these game dev endeavors after COVID, I don't really know anyone else who does this stuff, like who does game dev. So it's really nice to get a little bit into the community, and you keep seeing the same people commenting and so on. You keep seeing them in other comment sections. So that's kind of cool. I think it's one way to get into that community. And I hope like once things open up around here, I can also maybe join some meetups and local stuff like that, actually meet people in the community to get some exchange going, right? So yeah, overall it's super nice. It also keeps you motivated. You want to put out videos where you actually can show off what you've done and have some progress. So yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of surprising how small the community is, or it's like how, like you said, right? You keep seeing the same names, you keep seeing the same people comment, and it's
Yeah.
not only the same people will comment on your videos, but you'll see the same people comment on other people's videos,
Yeah, that's true.
and the community is uh, it's smaller than you think, but at the same time, it's like so widespread, right? Like you're the fourth person that I'm doing like an interview with,
Yeah.
and this is the fourth time zone that I'm
Yeah.
that I'm that I have to coordinate with because people are literally all over the world, and
Although
it's
it seems like it's very US centric, no? I see like most people who watch my YouTube videos are from the US. And like a little bit of like my area around here, but that's about it. Maybe I just don't have enough viewers to actually get the other countries, probably.
well, yeah, I guess since I'm from the U.S., I notice when people are from other places more. But
Oh, right,
I
yeah.
like Australia. I think is another place that I've seen a bunch of people from. That's cool. But yeah, uh, there are definitely pockets. It seems like, right? You see not so many people from certain areas, but more people from other areas.
Although maybe you also have a lot of people who are just not so much out there, who just do this as their hobby privately, maybe have a Twitter account or something like that, but don't really try to actively get themselves out there. So who knows?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Like YouTube is its own pocket, right? And I guess I have a bias to see, the YouTube people, but there are definitely people that are just on Twitter,
Yeah, yeah.
pushing out their content. Um, and I
Which
see
is
I
a lot
see
less work, probably.
probably right. You create like gifs and is it gifs or gifs? I don't know. Someone's gonna
I
complain.
say gifts. I totally think it's gifts.
Yeah,
So
I think it is technically gifs. So we're gonna go with that. But yeah, that's something I need to focus on more, right? Just to sit down and like make some content for my game for these other social media, right? Not just YouTube,
yeah,
because
I'm
I
super
haven't
bad at
focused on it.
that. I feel like it's this kind of grindy stuff. Like making YouTube videos is fun because it's kind of a creative process. It's just fun setting everything up and scripting it nicely. But like tweeting is like, to me, it's an annoyance mostly. Sometimes it's actually interesting to get some feedback, so that's nice. But I'm very bad at actively marketing the things I do on Twitter because it's just not so much fun, really.
Yeah, I need to
It's
be
great
better
for
about that.
feedback.
Yeah. I need to like for me right now, my Twitter serves as like go watch my devlog that I just posted on YouTube, and then that's
Which is
pretty much
fine, right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. In the end, like if you end up just creating a lot of I don't know, tweets, Reddit posts and everything and don't have any time left to actually focus on good quality stuff, like maybe YouTube videos, then that might not be the optimal balance either, right?
Yeah. There's so much to this to be successful.
Yeah.
That it's hard to know because there's no perfect formula for it, right? It's like everyone is doing their own thing and trying to figure out their own way. And then some people are successful at one thing, but then have a hard time on other social media. It's always surprising to me when I see like the really big names on YouTube not have that big of a following on Twitter or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, these people, they have hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube, but then only, a quarter of that, even less on Twitter. When I'm thinking Twitter is like this viral thing. You post on Twitter, and then you get all sorts of followers. And I guess Twitter
Never happens to me, really.
Yeah. Oh, it never happened to me either. So it's just I guess my perception of what Twitter is probably skewed from what it actually is because I don't really use it in my personal life too much. So.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. I'm just in this game dev bubble on Twitter. That's all I do. I also didn't create any other social media accounts, like, I don't know, Instagram or something. But yeah, I feel like that's fine. If you have limited capacities as this one person team, right? So It's fine to just focus on one thing.
So you mentioned being involved in the game dev community and like learning who all these people are and all of that. So who do you like to watch? And like, how are you involved in the community?
So I obviously tend to watch the big channels. I think the one that was suggested to me last year when I started out was DevDog's channel, and I was actually inspired by the fact that he made a devlog about his like fairly simple mobile game that he worked on at first. And I figured, if he can do it, I can do it. Something small. You don't have to have this huge fancy project and already be on top of everything, right? You can also document the learning process. So that's one, and then I watch all the other big ones. Apart from that, I really like Anisha's channel as well. There's also another channel I really like, and now I forgot the name. I can't remember it now. Okay, maybe I can tell you afterwards, and you can like put a little text box or something. It's also a very small channel. Yeah, what else? Yeah, I don't know. I try not to spend ages on YouTube apart from that. And then involvement in the community, I don't know. I don't do so much, but I would be interested in doing more. So for example, it's nice to actually talk to you, to just talk to someone else who does this stuff, because there's not so many people I know that do this, like none. I don't know. I guess as my YouTube channel started growing a little bit, I started getting requests here and there for things like, do you want to take part in this, I don't know, channel boosting scheme or some game jams, I guess. So I definitely want to do some game jams, like do some really small projects, also to learn about things outside the scope of my current game. That would be really good, probably. But mostly, like right now, I don't do so much in the game dev community, except for my YouTube stuff.
Yeah. There's for me, I'm really like, I have a Twitter, but I'm not super active on it. Even like following people's posts and things like that. And one big way that I've been a part of like the game dev community outside of YouTube itself is through everyone's Discords. And some of those are much more active than others. But there's definitely a lot of people talking there.
Yeah, true. I joined some Discords as well, but I can't really say I'm super active on those. I sometimes post like, oh, I found a bug here. check this out or something. But I don't really get that involved in the conversations. Yeah.
So, have you done a game jam before?
Not yet. I've literally only worked on my one little project. I don't know. I think I will probably really try to finish this up before I do anything else. That's my plan at the moment. And then one thought I had was to just do like a little game jam period where I try to just create a bunch of small games. I don't know, and very different ones, so I can learn about different things, different aspects. That's an idea I have right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I also have that idea where I'm like, okay, like it's nice to take a break and then just like, because sometimes it gets really stale, especially if you're working on a game and you still need ideas, right? Like if you're fixing bugs and things like that, you don't really need to be particularly inspired to work on your game. You just need to get yourself to do it. But sometimes it's like, okay, now you have to do something creative, like, oh, I'm creating a new puzzle, or I need to create more art or something like that, and it's you have a little bit of game dev writer's block, and yeah. So for me, like taking a break, doing game jam, will sometimes reinvigorate me and
Nice,
work on these small projects.
You can actually try out some of your ideas, I guess, right?
Yeah.
The things you've had in your head, and you can see if they actually work out.
Yeah, and
as
also
a prototype,
like some,
at least.
Yeah, like small mechanics or like new tools or things like that. It's nice. It's nice for that as well.
And I mean, it would even be nice to just collaborate on something with someone. I feel like that's also a really nice way to get involved. Just do game jam together with someone. So maybe I'll do that as well. We'll see.
Cool. Have you worked on a team before? I know that you were talking about how you don't know anyone in your personal life that actually does game dev, and I think that's pretty much true for all game devs, right? Because game dev is a very niche hobby, right? And it's a hobby that requires a lot of passion and commitment, and it's very hard to find people that like that are around you, especially if you didn't meet because of game dev.
Yeah, true.
You know,
well, except maybe for people who go to school for game dev, right? I feel
That's
like
true.
it's probably one of the main reasons I would, even if I could go back and make that decision, if I had decided to go to game dev school, probably that's one of the main reasons to do so, to just get to know people in the area, right?
Right.
But yeah, I agree.
Do you find that like your software engineering translates well to game dev in terms of like practical skills?
Yeah, mostly a lot of the same principles apply, just that it's a more specialized space in terms of programming. At least I feel like working with Unity and all the specific bits and pieces around Unity that you have to pay attention to and that you have to learn about. Yeah, apart from that, it just feels like yet another way of doing software engineering to me, mostly. Yeah, so that translates super well. I'm having no issues with the programming parts. I'm getting very interested in all of these architecture things. I tend to get interested in that. Yeah, definitely. But there's so much more to game dev, right? All of the art stuff, that doesn't really translate well from my programming experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, architecture-wise, that's something I really haven't studied. I've been like, I because I'm a software engineer, right, at work, I have to do designs and things like that for software. But it's kind of, in my opinion, it's different, right? Because when I'm creating a project at work, right, there are business requirements, and I talk with the end users and we decide what the requirements are, and then we have to design it, and then it's like a blueprint, and then we create it, right? And there's not, maybe the requirements will change as the development is going on, but it's kind of just that, right? It's like you have a blueprint and then you have to follow through. For game dev, it's a little different, right? It's not like once you make a mechanic or something like that, you have to work on it to tweak it and also see what's fun about it and what's not fun, right? And it's like you have to change things. So my projects are all hacked together, right? It's like it's not I can't design it from the beginning and then whatever I create at the end is the final product, right? From that initial blueprint, because I feel like it changes so much and it's like the game that I initially thought I was making is just not the game I made at all. And so far for all my game jams, like, you know, small projects and definitely my larger project, Stolen Hearts, it's what I started when I thought I was going to make. It's just completely different than what I ended up actually creating.
Yeah. I think what you're really saying is that it is a lot harder to make software for games scalable and maintainable, just because you don't really know what you will end up with.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe in some cases it's just really not even worth it, right? Because you just try to put together a prototype, and if you're like thinking about, oh, how am I going to do the multiplayer for this? At this point, there's no point in figuring that out. And it's also very different from just like a corporate environment where you, like you were saying, you do need to come up with this when you put together the blueprint, right?
Yeah. Because like for work, it's kind of like I'm building a skyscraper, right? It's like, okay, I need to know exactly how many floors before I create the building or whatever, and then I'm gonna build it, and it's gonna be exactly how it is in the blueprint. But like game dev, I feel is more like making a sculpture, where it's like, oh, you kind of have a base form that I'm making, but then I have to tweak it here. Oh, this doesn't really work, so I have to change this here. And all this code that I wrote actually doesn't. I don't need it anymore, or I just need
like
a piece of
the skyscraper just doubles over.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like there's tons of code that I wrote because I thought I was gonna need, then I didn't actually need it, or I had to change it, and so it ends up looking like a mess.
Yeah, I'm also very forgetful. Like when I put together something and then look at it a week after, I will not remember what I did. So I try and keep things clean, but it's like you say, it's super hard for game dev, especially as things evolve. And also you learn, right? At least for me, I constantly learn these new things. I'm like, oh, I should really use this or do this. And it just turns out it doesn't really work with the way I had initially designed things. But yeah, that's just how it goes, I guess. Constant trade-offs.
Are you someone that thinks a lot about like the organization of their project? Do you write tests and comment and document and things like that?
Testing. No. What? My code doesn't need tests. I think the scope of my project is not big enough to write tests, so I decided to not do any tests. Maybe I'll regret it. Who knows? But I don't know. Sometimes I do get into these things and try to organize everything super nicely, and get interested just into not organizing maybe, just the code and architecture aspects. I have these phases where I really find that interesting and dig deep, but then sometimes I'm like, meh, I don't really feel like optimizing this very much. I'm just going to keep this ugly piece of code. So it varies maybe depending on how I'm feeling, but that's nice. That's also nice about this being a hobby, right? At work, you would have to like lay it all out nicely. It has to be clean. You do need to write your tests.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess not always. Definitely not always.
So what is your workflow like? Like how many days a week are you working on your game? How many days a week are you working on your videos? And do you keep yourself to a strict schedule?
No, not really. Though I do have a little bit of a routine. I usually, during the week, I do some stuff in the morning, and I start work at around 10, depending on my mood. Sometimes I start earlier when I don't feel like doing anything like my personal stuff. So mostly I do like maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours in the morning. Then on the weekend, it really just depends on my plans for the weekend. So if there is like something big that I'm doing aside from game dev, I just won't have time. But if I do have time, maybe the weather is bad, I could spend like the entire weekend just working on the game. Mm-hmm. Or if there is lots of stuff going on a weekend, then I may spend just no time at all. So far, it's worked out. I think the important point is just finding like somewhat of a routine. It doesn't have to be completely scheduled, though it can be, I guess. It really depends on preferences, probably. Yeah, so this is working well for me.
Yeah.
What do you do? Do you have scheduled times?
I mean, kind of. So like every day, like every weekday, after work is when, like I work like 2 to 3 hours every day, pretty much. So it's kind of similar to you, except you do in the morning. I try to do in the morning. I was like, I'm gonna be a person that wakes up at 6 o'clock. and gets like 3 hours of work done before I ever start my job, and then after work I'll have extra time or whatever.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I'm a night person. I'm a night owl, so that's harder for me. So I typically work after work for a couple hours. If I have plans, it gets disrupted a little bit. But for the most part, I'm able to work like 2 to 3 hours every day, and then the weekends is the most variable, right? Winter, no one's hanging out, whatever. I can lock myself in and work on usually my videos on the weekends. That's usually when I decide to document what I did for the week, or like to come up with an idea for a video that's kind of unrelated.
Oh, so you have
to
kind of a
someone else.
routine actually, like weekend video, and then during the week you make progress on the game. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, but it doesn't always end up that way. But that's usually in the back of my mind. That's what I'm always saying, and just having that, just thinking about it, usually helps me stick to that schedule. But again, if it doesn't really work out to be like on perfectly on time, I don't really hold that too much against myself. Because as long as I'm continuing work, never stopping, and always like slowly progressing, I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Good enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. And you've been
Cool.
doing that for like two years now?
Yeah, I mean the videos I've really started taking more seriously, like I guess like half a year, maybe a little longer. Um, Definitely like 2021 is like my bigger YouTube push than I've done in the past. So that takes up more of my time. Before it was like much more of my time was working on Stolen Hearts. I was like, okay, this is how I'm devoting all my time pretty much. But I was like, oh, I need to start developing an audience. Maybe people are gonna like. There's kind of no point to working on this game all the time if like no one even knows about it. So I
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna try this out, and I've really liked it. So it's been really fun, as well as like growing my channel, which is hard, right? It's like it's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
How do you find like growing your channel? Which of your videos have been successful? Where do you see that success coming from?
Yeah, good question. It's really hard to predict, I feel. I made a video I thought would be like super cool, and not that many people watched it. And then I made one that was like basically a fill-up video, and it's like second most successful in terms of views at this point, I think, if I remember correctly. So, like, genuinely, I was like, it was about like an event system I made, and it was pretty technical, really. And I thought I first was going to put it into the video I was making, but realized it was just too much. So I broke it out into another video and thought, okay, I'm just going to put this one out. It wasn't that much work. And then like everyone seemed to find it super interesting. So I don't know. I find it super hard to predict what's going to happen and which types of videos are going to do well. Um, I guess like the YouTube algorithm is very hard to see through in general anyway. So yeah. But I also don't I try to not focus too much on it. I feel like even with a very small audience, you can often get like a lot of value out of it just because there are like few but pretty engaged people who give you like super thoughtful and friendly feedback, and that is just super nice. I
Yeah,
was also like, I'm not much of a social media person anyway, so it was kind of a big step for me to actually put my face on the internet permanently and publicly and all that. So I was super like positively surprised. I don't get a lot of spam even, I was guessing like I would get lots of, I don't know, negative comments that I would just have to delete on the side and so on, or that would be caught by the spam filters and all that. But like none of that, really. It's super nice.
yeah, yeah. It's like those. It's nice to see you get more subscribers, but it's also really nice to see the same people like that
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
depend on to support your content, and those are the people that you really feel like you're making the videos for.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I also at this point don't feel like a lot of pressure anyway, because I think my game that I'm building right now on track, I'm going to put it out on hopefully on the app stores and on the Google Play Store, and see if people like it. But I also think I'm not going to try to monetize it. I'm just going to put it out for free. It's like not a goal at all for me to somehow make money off of it or be super successful with it. So there's not really this pressure of, I don't know, I've worked on this game for the past 10 years and now I'm releasing it. I really need to grow this audience to actually sell the game to anybody. So that's also nice, I guess.
Yeah, and
Convenient.
that's an also nice part about not doing this full time, right? As keeping it as a hobby,
True.
like you're able to just do what you want without the pressure of feeling like you need to get views or you need to get, you have to, like, there's a specific deadline that you have to hit, right? You
Yeah.
can just do it as as you want, right? You can do it in your own time. And I also feel like for me, that's like a way that I don't have to compromise what I am intending to make with my game, right? Because as soon as you have deadlines, as soon as you have people really expecting you to get it out at a certain time or what the game will be, right, is when you have to start compromising what you want out of your game, I feel.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No, it's super nice to also just do this on the side. And yeah, but I was just gonna repeat what you just said, but never mind. I agree.
So do you play a lot of games?
So right now more than I used to. So back in my teens, I used to play a lot of just, I don't know, ego shooters and stuff like that. So not really a lot of interesting games. And then I had a phase where I really did not play any games, or very few at least. Back growing up, I also only ever had a PC, so I kind of missed all of the Nintendo stuff and that. But now, like in recent years, I've gotten back into it. I got back into it when I think Overwatch came out. I played a lot of Overwatch. That was fun. And right now, since I've gotten into the community myself, I really got interested into all of these more like interesting indie type games, right? Where people are trying out interesting things, maybe story driven, smaller games and so on. So I'm trying to actually look at a lot of these, but also my time is limited, so I can't really spend all my time making a game and playing games and also like kind of working on the side a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try to, and I'm always happy when I find like a really interesting game that doesn't take ages for me to play.
What kind of games do you like find yourself latching onto? A lot of shooters, it sounds like.
Nah, not really. That was mostly what I used to play back in the days. At this point, I'm always very drawn to cool art styles. I mean, like anybody, I guess. And I guess also things that just have interesting mechanics. I also want to, at this point, I want to try out a lot of different things just because I find it interesting to check out what other people do, right? Like puzzle games. I've been playing The Witness, for example. I tried out this other YouTuber's game, Patch Quest, recently. I really got into that. It's really cool. I don't know if you know the channel. It's like somewhat big, I guess. And he just launched the game in early access.
No, I haven't. Which
Really
channel is this?
It's also just called Patch Quest, I think.
Patch Quest.
So
I'll
he's
check
also
it out.
been making devlogs, and he has a very cool. It's a roguelite with a very cutesy style. You have little monsters you can catch and ride. So that one. What else have I been playing? I started playing Kato, which is also a little puzzle game. Oh, Deep Rock Galactic. I guess that's another shooter, but mostly like for social reasons, right? Like playing with other people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. It's also for me like when I started making games is when I started getting into indie games after the fact because it's
Yeah, I feel like same for me probably.
yeah, and it's like it was really not even so much the fact that like okay, I'm making a game and I want to see what other people are doing, which it was that, but it was not through me making the game. It was me learning about other people's YouTube channels and things like that, and the devlogs they're making. And it's like, oh, this is pretty interesting, and this is, it's fun to see what other people are making, right? Because it also gives you inspiration for your own games.
Yeah,
To
and you
see.
kind of appreciate it a little bit more, right?
Oh,
Like
definitely,
these cool
definitely.
ideas and yeah.
And you also understand how much work has to go behind these games
Oh, yeah.
to be able to make them, especially with the polish that the final product is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's always really impressive, and it's really nice to see people and like, okay, not only is this person able to make this game, but it's like it shows you that it's possible for yourself, right? So
Yeah.
so it's very
Maybe,
fun,
who
very fun
knows?
to be. No, I'm excited. You're definitely gonna get there. You're seeming like you're pretty close. So how many
Now
levels?
the pressure is on.
Give us the deadline. We want to see it. No, I'm kidding. But so yours is obviously on track. Obviously a puzzle game. How many levels have you created? How many are you intending to be there in the final game?
I don't know. I don't think it's a puzzle game. You don't really have to puzzle things together. It's more like, I would call it an arcade game. I even looked up like a list of genres of game to figure out what it
Yeah.
is. I'm not so sure. But it's definitely like, it's a bit stressful. You have to be quick and like keep an overview, which I didn't realize when I first had the idea. But I think I have 30 levels right now. I at one point decided to just make all the levels, and now I kind of tune and refine them every now and then, but mostly a lot of them are done, and that's nice. I think I'm just gonna keep that for now. If I have a couple cool additional ideas, maybe I will add them later. Maybe I could create 20 more that are still meaningfully different to the ones I have so far. But it's not really on my must-do list, right? To
Right.
create more levels. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess when I was thinking about puzzles, it's like your game does it's obviously like requires like coordination and timing and things like that.
Yeah,
But you also
that's
have to
true.
you also have to like map it out, right? You have to think about where it's gonna go, and
Yeah, true. Maybe it has like puzzle elements. Yeah.
so what's on this must-do list? It's like bugs and maybe aesthetic changes, or what else?
Yeah, I can think of sound effects as well. I definitely need those. I don't have any right now. Maybe I'll try to make some music. I don't know yet. That's not on the must-do list, but the sound effects are. A few bugs, some polishing. I definitely also need to balance out the levels because just the ways in which the trains spawn, they can be too hard. In just, if I use the same parameters for every level, it can be way too hard for one and way too easy for the other. So I will need to adjust that per level, unfortunately. But yeah, it shouldn't take so much time that I can even pull up my Trello board. Fix UI issues. No.
Oh yeah, that's the most annoying.
I hate
Aspect.
it so much. I don't know if I'm like just doing this wrong or something, or if I'm just, I don't know, not intuitively picking up Unity's UI system. I hate it. Like nothing works the way I expect it to work. I think like, oh, that's perfectly logical. It will do this, and then it will do something completely different.
Yeah, one of my biggest pet peeves with the Unity UI is like the what is it called, like navigation automatic or something like that, and it's like you might not experience it because of with mobile if it's touch, but it's like it will automatically decide how the keyboard will like click it, even though I already implemented like ways to navigate around the screen. Anyway,
Okay, I don't
leave
get
a comment
it,
if you know what I'm talking about. But
yeah,
but
that
yeah.
sounds annoying as well. Like what's mostly annoying me is just all of these relative setups where you want it to be like so and so much percentage points from the right and the bottom,
Oh
because you
yes.
can't really just place things somewhere because then it will look crappy on 80% of devices or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
So yeah,
Oh
all
yeah.
of these settings don't work as I expect them to do.
Oh yeah. Mobile actually. Now I'm thinking about it because like that must be pretty tough because when I do builds for the games I make, I'm doing everything on PC, and it's always like, okay, I'm just gonna choose the same aspect ratio, right? And then the
Yeah,
canvas
exactly.
can
That is like the
expand.
main problem, really. That is
Yeah.
my main issue with all of this.
But
It's annoying me.
but mobile, you're gonna get different types of dimensions, right? Like
Yeah, exactly.
iPad, phone. The phones are all different sizes and dimensions. So
And DPI and resolutions and all that. Yeah.
yeah, that sounds rough.
Maybe I'm just gonna release my game for like one type of phone, my own, something like that. Now, maybe not.
I'm sure you'll figure it out. All right, we're kind of running out of time, so let me ask you, what is your favorite thing about indie dev, and what's your least favorite thing about indie dev?
About the indie aspect or game dev in general?
Let's just go game dev in general.
Yeah, I think what I said in the beginning, that it encompasses so many things. It's about so many things, and you need to kind of be at least okay at all of them, including art, music, and there's just a lot of potential for learning new stuff and getting into new stuff. Keeps you very busy, keeps you just learning all the time. Yeah, I think that's my favorite part. And my least favorite part is that it's yet another thing I have to mostly just do on the computer.
Yeah, that's low key. Kind of the worst part is like I sit in this, especially since the pandemic, right? It's like I wake up, my bed is right here, and I roll over here. I work all day, and
Yeah.
then game dev right here, the same spot, right at my desk. So that's
Yeah,
that's pretty
exactly.
tough. So for the stuff that you're talking about you being a jack of all trades, is there something that you're like you're happiest with of your improvement since you started?
My improvement. Oh no, I'm realizing I haven't learned anything.
Your video,
Okay.
your videos are a
Yeah,
lot
maybe
better. I'll
my
say that.
video
That's
making
yeah,
skills. Yeah, I think that's probably an area that I have improved most in. For the art, I'm all right with it. It looks fine for the thing I want to do, for the game I want to make. So I am okay with that, but I don't feel like I've made like this huge leap in my art skills. I've kind of learned to use the like vector tools and so on, which I've only gotten into like very briefly in the past. That is working okay. But yeah, probably like you're saying, video making skills, which is more of an side, but yeah.
is there one area that you're like, oh, I wish I was a lot better at this?
Art, yeah.
Art.
I would love to be like this artsy person who can just create art and it's beautiful right away.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah, matter of practice.
yeah. Plus, it's like those people, the people that are really good at art, are also the people that are really good about getting views on their channels because they have like these great thumbnails and like, they can
Yeah,
sweep
probably.
through those. That's
If you
why,
have a
like,
very appealing art style in your game, it's like it sells itself, I think.
yeah,
So.
yeah, I think so. And that's also something that I wish I had, that like innate ability to have this, make everything just look good and know when it looks good, right? For me, it's like I make the same piece of art like 5 different times, and I'm like, it's still not where I want it to be,
Yeah. Although I feel like we also have to give credit to the people who seem to be just very good at this. I'm sure they've put like a lot of work into
Oh,
this, and it's
for
not just
sure.
something you're
Oh
born
yeah,
with. So
that's definitely true.
yeah, maybe we just need to practice more.
And we will. And if you're watching this and you're working on your art, keep practicing as well. All right, that's all the time that I want to be taking from you. We got about an hour. So yeah, thanks
Cool.
for talking with me. This was great. I think the people are really gonna like. There was definitely lots of good takes, lots of new information that I haven't really talked about with other people before. So that's cool.
Cool. Thank you very much. It
Yeah,
was nice
thank
talking
you.
to you.
Yeah, see you next time.